In all neurodevelopmental conditions, including ASD, there are some quite significant sleep difficulties often with young people. Approximately 40% of young people might have sleep difficulties as part of their neurodevelopmental condition. So it's something that clinicians recognise very commonly, and I think as parents you should always expect that your clinician will be asking you about whether your child is sleeping properly. And there are some interventions that can be offered to help with sleep problems. So sleep is a very fundamental biological function that our bodies require. So when you're asleep, your brain is essentially going into a repair mode and storing information. And it's therefore really a very crucial function that people need. And we know from lots of research that's been done in people who, for example, work night shifts and things like that, that it can have quite a profound effect on you if you have sleep difficulties. So I think we appreciate, and all of us at one point in our lives might have some experience of having some sleep deprivation for different reasons. We recognise that it can have a very profound effect on parents as well. We know that when you're trying to manage with a young person who might need more support than an average child, and where there might be some special behavioural approaches that you're trying to use, then a parent being fully rested as much as possible and feeling that they're on top of things is really important. It's not fully known what the cause of the sleep difficulties is. I think there, is it's an area of research that will be ongoing to really find out what the cause is. We know that there might be something to do with melatonin production in the brain that might be associated with some of the sleep difficulties. Melatonin is the hormone that our brains produce to help us go to sleep, and also has some effect on helping us stay asleep. So it's a very important hormone, and if that production is affected in some way in ASD, then that's quite significant. So sleep problems really can be thought about depending on, looking at the night as the night goes through. So first of all, thinking about sleep onset difficulties. There can then be problems with maintenance of sleep, so waking up in the middle of the night and then waking up early in the morning. And children with ASD can have all three of those types of problems. So the first thing is that there's a lot of sort of behavioural techniques really that can be really helpful to try and improve a child's sleep. What we're looking for really is there to be a really good routine in place. That's the most important thing. That helps to cue your brain, to get your brain ready to go into sleep. So it is really important to have a set time of going to bed, and also to think about the time leading up to that, where it's particularly important that a child isn't using screens. Usually at least for an hour before bedtime. That's because of the light from the screens affecting the melatonin production in the brain. And the cueing can be done, it's not about particular activities, it's about the routine of things happening one after the other, and it's the pattern that will cue your brain to then tell your brain that it's sleep time. So it can be things like reading stories, a child reading a book, maybe listening to an audio book if they prefer that, having a warm bath or shower but not too hot or obviously too cold, because you don't want to wake up the child more by doing that. Avoiding any caffeinated drinks is really important. So not just the typical ones that we all think about, like tea and coffee, but also chocolate drinks and Coca-Colas and things like that. It's important that a child isn't either very full or very hungry around bedtime. So we would suggest that they have their main meal earlier on in the evening, but if they are hungry they can have a light supper. And there are some foods which are thought to be helpful in helping a child go to sleep. So milk and bananas in particular have been identified as things that can be helpful. So sometimes I suggest that if a child likes it, a banana smoothie made from milk can be helpful. And then once in bed, it's really important that the environment is comfortable, dark. There shouldn't be lights on in the room. Blackout curtains or blinds can be helpful. And obviously quiet as well. So if there's any particular noise in the environment, it's important to think about that. And the onset of sleep on average is between 20 and 30 minutes. So a child needs to give themselves at least that amount of time to try and settle. We do sometimes use medication to help children with sleep onset and maintenance, and that is a form of the melatonin that our brains produce that has been licensed to be used. It's not licensed in young people, but it's used clinically in young people a lot, and that can be helpful if the sleep hygiene measures haven't initially worked. The medication does, however, need to be used in conjunction with sleep hygiene measures continuing to be used. Well, I think it's important really, if you've tried some of the basic measures and those aren't helping and you feel that it's affecting you and your child, then I think, it's perfectly reasonable to then have a discussion with a professional.